World War I, a 10-minute story. Introduction, a world on the brink. Let me take you back to the early 20th century, a time of grand empires, rapid industrialization, and fierce rivalries. This is the story of World War I, a devastating conflict that would engulf the globe and reshape the world forever. Known as the Great War, it lasted from 1914 to 1918, involving over 30 nations and leaving a legacy that still echoes today. Imagine the world at the time. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, ruled by Emperor Franz Joseph, stretched across Central Europe. Germany, led by Kaiser Wilhelm II, was building its military might. Russia, under Tsar Nicholas II, held vast, diverse territories. Britain, under King George V, commanded a global empire. Meanwhile, France's President Raymond Poincaré sought to maintain its borders after years of conflict with Germany. Beneath the surface, tensions simmered. Rivalries over colonies, military dominance, and national pride had turned Europe into a powder keg. Now, imagine the echoing sound of a gunshot. That gunshot in Sarajevo would spark a conflict so vast that it would leave millions dead and empires shattered. The causes, how did it begin? The war didn't happen overnight. Historians often group the causes of World War I into four interconnected factors: militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism, or Maine. 1. Militarism. Picture the thunder of cannons firing during military drills. By 1914, European powers were locked in an arms race. Germany had expanded its navy to rival Britain's, creating tension between the two nations. France and Russia built up their armies, aiming to counterbalance Germany's growing military power. Leaders like Germany's Helmuth von Moltke and France's Joseph Joffre believed that the size of their armies would ensure security. Instead, it created fear and paranoia. 2. Alliances. Hear the crackle of diplomatic agreements being signed. To protect themselves, nations formed alliances. The Triple Alliance included Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy, though Italy switched sides in 1915. The Triple Entente united France, Russia, and Britain. These alliances were meant to maintain peace, but instead guaranteed that any small conflict could escalate into a global war. 3. Imperialism. Imagine the bustle of ships loading goods in colonial ports. European nations fiercely competed for colonies in Africa and Asia. Germany, feeling boxed in by Britain and France's vast empires, sought to expand its influence, creating deep resentment. 4. Nationalism. Hear the shouts of protests and the chants of independence movements. National pride fueled tensions. In the Austro-Hungarian Empire, ethnic groups like the Serbs and Bosnians yearned for independence. Serbian leaders, backed by Tsar Nicholas II of Russia, dreamed of uniting all Slavic people under their control, a direct challenge to Austro-Hungarian dominance. The spark. Assassination in Sarajevo. The final spark came on June 28, 1914, when Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, visited Sarajevo. As his open-top car rolled through the streets, a young Bosnian Serb nationalist named Gavrilo Princip, part of the secret society the Black Hand, stepped forward and fired 2 shots. Bang! Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie were killed. Austria-Hungary, under Emperor Franz Joseph, blamed Serbia and issued an ultimatum. Serbia, supported by Russia, refused some of the demands. On July 28, 1914, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, setting off a chain reaction. The domino effect. This seemingly small conflict escalated into a global war due to the alliance system. Russia, defending its Slavic ally Serbia, mobilized its army. Germany, allied with Austria-Hungary, declared war on Russia and France, which was allied with Russia. Germany's invasion of neutral Belgium outraged Britain, which declared war on Germany on August 4, 1914. By early August, all of Europe was at war. The fronts of the war. World War I was fought on multiple fronts, each with its own horrors and prominent commanders. It won the Western Front. Picture the sound of artillery shells exploding and the whistling of bullets cutting through the air. Germany's Schlieffen Plan, developed by Count Alfred von Schlieffen, aimed to quickly defeat France by invading Belgium and outflanking French forces. But the plan faltered at the First Battle of the Marne in September 1914, where French forces under Joseph Joffre and the British Expeditionary Force led by Field Marshal John French, halted the German advance. What followed was trench warfare, 400 miles of trenches from the North Sea to Switzerland. Soldiers endured mud, rats, disease, and constant shell fire. Battles like Verdun and the Somme in 1916, led by commanders like Germany's Erich von Falkenhayn and Britain's Douglas Haig, caused millions of casualties with little ground gained. 2. The Eastern Front. Here the galloping of horses and the clash of swords. On the Eastern Front, the war was more fluid. Russia launched offensives under Grand Duke Nicholas, but suffered catastrophic defeats like the Battle of Tannenberg, where German generals Paul von Hindenburg and Erich Ludendorff destroyed an entire Russian army. Poor leadership and lack of supplies weakened the Russian effort, fueling unrest at home. The Italian Front. Picture the sound of avalanches and artillery echoing through snowy mountains. Italy joined the Allies in 1915, lured by promises of territorial gains. Battles in the Alps, like the Isonzo River, were grueling. The Battle of Caporetto in 1917 saw Italy suffer a crushing defeat, forcing General Luigi Cadorna to resign. Haderstrott 4, the Middle Eastern Front. Here, the distant muezzin's call mixed with the sounds of gunfire. The Ottoman Empire, led by Sultan Mehmed Faid, joined the Central Powers. The Allies launched the Gallipoli campaign, an attempt to seize the Dardanelles Strait, but it ended in failure. Meanwhile, T.E. Lawrence, known as Lawrence of Arabia, led Arab revolts that weakened Ottoman control, a new kind of war. World War I introduced terrifying new technologies. Machine guns turned battlefields into killing fields. Poison gas, like chlorine and mustard, caused horrific injuries. Tanks, first used at the Somme, were slow but groundbreaking. Airplanes became tools for reconnaissance and bombing. Submarines, especially Germany's U-boats, disrupted Allied shipping. The United States enters the war. For 3 years, the United States stayed neutral under President Woodrow Wilson, but events in 1917 changed that. 1. Unrestricted submarine warfare. Germany sank civilian ships, including the Lusitania, killing Americans. 2. The Zimmermann Telegram. Germany tried to ally with Mexico against the U.S. On April 6, 1917, the U.S. declared war. American troops, led by General John J. Pershing, arrived in 1918, tipping the balance. The turning point. By 1917, the Central Powers were crumbling. Russia, engulfed in revolution, signed the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, exiting the war. Germany concentrated on the Western Front, but in 1918 the Allies launched the 100 Days Offensive led by generals like Ferdinand Foch. Germany's allies collapsed one by one. November 11, 1918, at 11 a.m., Germany signed an armistice. The war was over. The aftermath. The cost was staggering, over 16 million dead, including 8.5 million soldiers. Entire towns in France and Belgium were reduced to rubble. The Treaty of Versailles in 1919 imposed harsh terms on Germany. Germany had to accept full blame for the war. It lost territory, including Alsace-Lorraine. It was forced to pay massive reparations. The legacy of World War I. World War I changed the world forever. 4 empires, Austria-Hungary, Germany, Russia, and the Ottoman Empire, collapsed. New nations like Poland and Czechoslovakia emerged. The League of Nations was created but failed to prevent future wars. The war also paved the way for World War II, as the harsh treatment of Germany created deep resentment. Closing, lessons learned. World War I was called the war to end all wars, but it became a prelude to something even greater. It taught the world about the horrors of modern warfare and the human cost of unchecked ambition. It's a reminder that peace, no matter how fragile, is always worth fighting for.